Hello everybody, and welcome to another Weather Wednesday. My name is Elias, and I'm here at the Space Foundation Discovery Center using Science on a Sphere to talk a little bit about what has been happening around the world in weather. If you recall last week's episode, we were talking a little bit about the hurricane prediction pattern that was predicted by NOAA, that was predicted by Colorado State University, as well as the Weather Channel. And so we're going to talk about, are they on track? What have we experienced so far in the hurricane season? We also talked a little bit about the weather for a special launch that occurred this last Saturday. It did not occur Wednesday after my last presentation, but it did occur on Saturday, and what a launch it was. So very thankful that the SpaceX launch happened just perfectly, flawlessly, as it occurred on Saturday. So what I'd like to do today is to start talking about a little bit of a recap going on. So first, if you remember a couple weeks ago, there was a super cyclone that hit India and Bangladesh. Super cyclone Amphan, and they're still picking up the pieces from this storm. Lots of damages because of salt water that has entered into areas. Typically, that is only fresh water that harms both the animals as well as the farmland there. So they are struggling with cleaning up after Super Cyclone Amphan. And so just want to keep that in your guys' mind, that there are several people around the world that are going through difficult times. So tropical or super cyclone Amphan still cleaning up in India and Bangladesh area. Now, thankfully, there weren't as many casualties, weren't as many people that died because of this super cyclone, because we were able to predict. Scientists were able to predict this hurricane well ahead of when it hit land. So just thankful that the loss of life was not as great. Now, what I'd like to talk about a little bit today is a tropical storm, and that's why I keep slipping up and saying tropical, but tropical storm Cristobal, which is in the Gulf of Mexico right now. It is in this area, and it is currently causing a lot of flooding, a lot of rainfall for Central America, for Belize, Nicaragua, Mexico. And so as I fast forward this, you can see it, the last satellite image that we have of it, starting to form and come together there over Mexico. Tropical storm Cristobal is the third named storm in the Atlantic region. And guys, this is a record. I talked to you last week about how scientists were predicting this was going to be an active hurricane season. Well, it is. We are already on our third named storm. The earliest in the earliest we've gotten to the seas in history. We expect several more hurricanes to happen this hurricane season, which started June 1st. June 1st is the beginning of the hurricane season. And what scientists do is they name those hurricanes as they develop. They name them alphabetically, A, B, C, D, so on and so forth, to keep track of what storms are in which area. And how they name them is kind of interesting. The World Meteorological Organization comes together, and they have a list of 6 years worth of hurricane names, and so A through W actually. They have 6 years of names, and so as that year goes through, the names, they just go A, B, C, D, E, so on and so forth, down to W. They don't have a Q name, and they don't have an X name. Go figure. But these after they go through this year's storm, they have another list for the following year, and then cycle those names every 7 years. So this year is 2020. They'll use these names for hurricanes again in 2027, unless a hurricane becomes so devastating and so historical, then they'll retire that name and find a new name for that letter. So little trivia for you. They have a separate list of names for different regions of the oceans. So not long ago, there was a tropical storm just off the south part of Mexico here. And this tropical storm, since it was in the Pacific Ocean, they started with a different name. This was Tropical Storm Amanda. And Tropical Storm Amanda dropped 10 to 20 inches of rain in Guatemala, in Nicaragua, in this area of Central America, dropped a lot of rain. And then right behind it, we have Tropical Storm Cristobal. You'll notice it was A, now it's C. Well, that's where we're at in the Atlantic Basin. Now, why do the names stop at W? Well, we haven't made it to W yet. Maybe we'll do that this year. I hope not. But we haven't made it all the way to W through the storms. And there's not very many names in the Y's and the Z's anyway. So that's why it only goes to W there. What scientists are going to look for this storm is they're predicting that this storm, Tropical Storm Cristobal, is going to stay in this area. It's a very slow-moving storm right now, which adds to the possibility of flooding in this area. It's a slow-moving storm, dropping a lot of moisture along the coast of Mexico here. Let me back out the clouds so you can see the topography again. There's the topography. So as it's right here, it's picking up a lot of moisture from the Gulf of Mexico. The waters there are very warm, so that adds fuel to this tropical storm coming down as precipitation. It's also causing a high surf, so high waves, that's going to affect the coastline all around the Gulf of Mexico. So Florida, Texas, Louisiana is going to experience high surf starting this weekend as the waves propagate and come across the Gulf of Mexico there. Scientists are going to keep an eye on where this storm goes, they predict that it's going to take a northern track up this direction towards Louisiana, Florida, but we don't know how long it's going to stay together. Historically, storms that start in the Gulf of Mexico don't last long. In history, only 3 hurricanes that have started and formed in the Gulf of Mexico actually hit a U.S. coast. So that's kind of an interesting tidbit there. So as we enter into what we call the meteorological summer, and meteorological summer is just what you're used to. You're used to thinking about June, July, and August as the months of summer. That's the meteorological summer. Summer doesn't actually start until June 20th. That is the celestial summer, or that's when the Earth's lined up perfectly so that the sun is at its northernmost point over the world. As we begin the meteorological summer in June 1st, what kinds of things can we predict? To do that, let's take a look at this. This is a forecast model for wind. Okay? And so as I bring this around to the United States here, you can see the United States here. What this shows is this shows me highs and low pressures, where they predict high and low pressure is going to be, as well as jet stream. So up here, you notice that the jet stream is primarily to the north. And what that does is it kind of traps heat. It keeps heat down here. And so right now, the southwest is experiencing very warm temperatures, 10 to 15 degrees above average. And that's going to continue across the United States. So that warm ridge right here is going to continue across. So here in Colorado over the next couple days, it'll be quite warm. That's going to travel across central U.S. and on into the eastern part of the U.S., bringing unseasonably warm temperatures to this part of the world, or this part of the United States. And then it looks like as we get into close to the weekend here, we have a couple of low pressure systems that we're looking at. One is over the northwest here. That low pressure system will probably bring some clouds and moisture to that area over the weekend. And let's see, as this high temperature ridge moves on, it looks like there's a little bit of a low pressure system right behind it that might bring chances of thunderstorms to the southwest part of the United States. And also prediction, here is that tropical storm. So in a few days you can see it off the coast of Mexico there, still hugging the shoreline. We'll see if it has enough energy, if it has enough fuel to keep going. So stay tuned to our next Weather Wednesday episode to see what happens to tropical storm Cristobal. So that's going to be it for today. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you have questions about weather going on around us, please send us your comments and questions on our social media pages. We encourage you to check out our website. Last week we launched our Center for Innovation and Education, CIE. You can check that out on our spacefoundation.org website. Also, if you would like to donate to the Space Foundation, you can go to spacefoundation.org/donate. We can use all the support we can get during these hard times, and we just appreciate you guys watching. So thanks for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you on our next Weather Wednesday. Take care.